I know I'm starting the show a few minutes early. That's because I need to take advantage of every minute I've got in order to get over to the Capitol and finish up the week with Bill Deadline. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. And if you're joining us live in the chat room, it's always a lively bunch. And I'm curious if they could just keep me posted on the signal as we broadcast here on YouTube for the Center Square. We've got a couple of things I want to tackle. I'm going to try to truncate them as much as possible because, again, the Illinois House and the Illinois Senate both back in this morning at 9 o'clock, and they were I didn't get out of there last night, guys, until like 10:30. So it's just that kind of week, and this is going to be very similar to how it is at the tail end of session, which is May 31st. So they're both off next week. That gives me the opportunity to take a week off from the Capitol. So there won't be any live shows next week, just so you know, here for Illinois in Focus. So keep that in mind. Monday, no live show, but I want to remind you also that you're going to be able to get the latest headlines with the Center Square. Even though I'm taking off, we still got a great team putting together stories. And if you get to the newsletter, you can sign up for that at thecentersquare.com. Check out the latest stories each morning, but you also can get the national headlines as well by just going to thecentersquare.com. So I want to remind you of that while I'm out. There's still going to be some great publications there. All right. So last night, again, long night. The Illinois House didn't adjourn until just after 10 o'clock. It was kind of funny. There was one bill that all they did was remove the apostrophe from the Illinois Veterans Administration. And that's all the bill did. And they passed that like right at 10 o'clock. It's interesting to see how the quote unquote sausage is made. So just checking the live chat again. If you guys want to give me that thumbs up that we're looking good as far as glitch-free Friday, Tenebris says. I'm trying a little bit of a different way to engineer this. The streamer, the encoder, for some reason, is having errors in the live show. So I'm now taking that as a virtual and putting it through a different program to then get it. Anyways, too much technical stuff there. But we will get this thing going. All right. A couple of quick segments here. We'll talk the Homeschool Act, which, spoiler alert, did not come up last night before they adjourned in the House, but they could still bring it up today. However, yesterday in the Senate, they did pass the safe gun storage bill. So we'll highlight some of that coming up here next. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us with Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning, except for next week. I'm going to be far away from Central Illinois. So just make a little mental note of that, all right?
You're taking away a fundamental right given to us by our Creator, and you're giving that ability to police and not the courts, as it's been ruled over and over again. This was talked about in Bruin. It's Rahimi. Also, Heller versus D.C. Addressed some of these things.
It's Illinois State Senator Neil Anderson last night on the Senate floor in debate about Senate Bill 8, the Safe Gun Storage
Creates the
Measure.
Safe Gun Storage Act.
There you go. We'll hear from the sponsor of that here in a moment, but that passed the Senate. Now goes to the House. What's in it? What are the problems that opponents have? Well, it's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Reminder, I'm off next week as both the House and the Senate take off as well. But if you want to stay posted what's going on with Illinois at the State House and everything else that's happened, go to the centersquare.com Illinois page and get the newsletter. Running tally for the Senate. They have passed 109 bills the day before yesterday, and they passed 44 bills last night. So you're talking 153 measures that the Illinois Senate has passed so far this week, with today, Friday, being the bill deadline to get stuff over to the House. Now, the House has been super busy. They've passed 345 bills since they came in Monday. Again, today's the deadline. They will obviously be back at 9 o'clock with more floor action. Altogether, both the House and the Senate have passed 498 bills from one chamber to the next. 498 bills from one chamber to the next. We'll see just how many more they get today. And again, that's why you need to get over to thecentersquare.com and stay up to date on the stuff that's really going to impact you. But let's get to this. The Safe Storage Act, the Safe Gun Storage Measure, Senate Bill 8, lopsided support. You've got like 700 people that have supported it, and then you had like 3,500 that opposed it, if not more. At least those who officially filed witness slips with the Illinois General Assembly website. But here is State Senator Laura Ellman. She lays out some of the particulars about this measure.
Creates the Safe Gun Storage Act to prohibit a firearm owner from storing or keeping any firearm in any premises where the firearm owner knows or reasonably should know that a minor, an at-risk person, or a prohibited person is likely to gain access to that firearm. The act does not apply in instances of self-defense or unlawful entry onto those premises. It amends the Criminal Code of 2012 similarly to provide that it is unlawful for any person to store or leave a firearm if the person knows or reasonably should know that a minor who does not have a FOID card is likely to gain access. And in both of these cases, minor is now defined as somebody under the age of 18.
So she went on to describe other elements of the bill. It's not just a safe storage component. It also requires that you report your firearm theft within, 48 hours or so?
It also amends the Firearm Owner's Identification Card Act to provide that the Illinois State Police may revoke a firearm after a second or subsequent violation of failing to report a lost or stolen firearm. It also amends that act to provide that the Internet Database of Firearm Owner Identification Card owners must include a written notice of their obligation to report that within 48 hours of the loss, within 48 hours of the loss or theft.
And we'll hear a little bit more of the particulars of this, obviously, as it continues to work through the process. Passed last night, has yet to get into the House, but once the House picks it up, then they will bring that up. But that measure in the Senate, it passed late yesterday. I think it was like 6 or 6:30 or so when it actually was brought up. That's after the Senate was supposed to go in at I think like 10 o'clock yesterday morning. It seems that, and I've been watching this stuff happen for 11 years now. It seems that they always wait to get the most controversial legislation and push it to the tail end of whenever they expect to get out for the day. But the debate on the Senate floor, short. They had Senator Ron Villivalum go back and forth with Ellman for what's considered legislative intent. And the legislative intent, they just read questions and answers that are pre-prepared. And that's typically done whenever they know that a measure is going to be brought up in court. So that they can have that record in the official General Assembly record to then present it to the court with a bunch of different legal stuff that's back and forth. And then Villivalum talked about the tragedies of children getting their hands on firearms that are not secured and how that's led to tragedy and death and injury. And he says this is why you need to have this law in place, because if this law was in place, some of those kids would still be with us today. Neil Anderson, Republican state senator, he said, listen, there's some serious concerns here, and he had some questions for Ellman.
So in your Amendment 3, it takes out the automatic revocation of FOID card, but still retains the ability for state police to revoke a FOID card under Section 8 of the FOID Act. So if someone doesn't report a stolen firearm, whether it's out of their house or their car or wherever, you still are giving state police the ability to, they may revoke it. So my question is how does that pass the Supreme Court precedent of the Bruin test?
So a question that Anderson had of, raising previous Supreme Court precedents, man, how that may be challenged by this particular law. Ellman had to talk with staff back and forth, and there were long pauses in between to try to make sure that, and she said she didn't want to screw up. She wanted to make sure she got it right. But I don't think she really addressed Anderson's concerns, or at least understood what Anderson was asking, because in particular, he was asking about the aspect of recent Supreme Court precedent, not just in Bruin, but other cases, about how an issue of dangerousness needs to be determined by a court in order for Second Amendment privilege rights should be ensured. Say, for instance, the Rahimi case, where you had no hearing for the individual that was losing his firearms rights. The court essentially said you have to have that hearing with the courts. It can't be an administrative law judge. It can't be, police just, shall or even may take somebody's firearm rights away from them. Anderson continues on talking about those rulings and the impact that they could have on a law like this.
And this is quoted from the Supreme Court case. When an individual has been found by a court to pose a credible threat to the physical safety of another, that individual may be temporarily disarmed, consistent with the Second Amendment. It doesn't say anything about law enforcement. It says court. That's what the Supreme Court has said. That is what I'm asking. How do you square that up with your bill? Because it is contrary to what the Supreme Court has recently ruled.
Again, Ellman, I don't know if she didn't understand the question, but didn't necessarily directly address it. Anderson then comes back and just lays out the problems he has with this, in particular, in light of those recent Supreme Court rulings.
Your bill is giving state police the ability to take away somebody's constitutional right without due process. That is the problem here, and that's what I'm trying to point out. So
I urge an aye vote.
This week, the Supreme Court said that violent gang members that are not citizens of this country are entitled to a hearing prior to their deportation. Non-citizens living in our country are getting more due process than citizens of Illinois. You're taking away a fundamental right given to us by our Creator, and you're giving that ability to police and not the courts, as it's been ruled over and over again. This was talked about in Bruin. It's Rahimi. Also, Heller versus DC addressed some of these things.
So Anderson went on from there, saying that instead of something like this safe storage bill that could ultimately lead to people having their Second Amendment rights taken away just by police without a hearing is problematic. And he said, instead of that, let's go ahead and support Anderson's bill, which requires gun safety education in schools. He says that that would be a better approach to really get at the problem. And regardless of all of that, he said that it's likely none of what he had to say had to matter at all to the majority in the Illinois Senate.
Opposed, nay. The voting is open. Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Take the record on that question. There are 33 voting yea, 19 voting nay, none voting present. And Senate Bill 8, having received the required constitutional majority, is declared passed.
So there you go. It passed last night in the Illinois Senate. Now the safe gun storage bill goes to the Illinois House. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and get this and other shows at the Center Square on YouTube, and get the headlines in your inbox. And if you ever want to get the podcast, go check it out. Just search Illinois in Focus. And for those keeping score at home, I did get a haircut. You can tell from the sides here. All right, but I don't know, man. I used to have hair down to my mid-back, so it is what it is. Maybe during vacation, I'll come back and you guys will poke at me some more about that haircut. Okay, all right, enough of that. Enough of that. I promise. Illinois homeschool families continue to push back against a measure to regulate the practice, as the Illinois House could possibly still take up that measure today, bill deadline day in Springfield. I'm Greg Bishop. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and get this program and others at the Center Square here on YouTube. We're a nonprofit newswire service. I'm on the ground at the Capitol when they're gavel in and gavel out. Didn't get out of there until about 10:30 last night, as the House, they just went on and on and on and on for like 13 hours, it felt like. So a lot of legislation passed. Altogether, the House passed 345 bills just this week alone. Think about that. 345 bills just this week alone the Illinois House has passed. The Senate has passed 153 bills just this week. A total 498 bills that both chambers have passed on to the other chamber in this legislative session so far. Of course, how a bill becomes law has to pass one chamber, then pass a second chamber, and then it can go be signed by the governor. Right now, we're at that phase where all these bills have only passed one chamber. Now, how many bills they're going to pass altogether before the end of May 31st? That's why you got to stay logged in and plugged in here with Illinois in Focus Daily with the Center Square. So the Homeschool Act from State Representative Tara Costa Howard, it would essentially say that homeschool parents have to notify education officials, public education officials, that they homeschool their families. If they don't, they could possibly be found truant, and there could be some penalties there. This measure was brought up in a House committee last month. It was standing room only in a small committee room. The first floor of the Illinois Capitol was full of hundreds of homeschool parents, thousands of people there, and they were all opposing this. If you look at the witness slips for this, on the main bill, it's got over 45,000 opponents. On the amendments, it's got 50,000+ and 40,000+ opposing the amendments, and only several hundred who support it. So clearly there's lopsided witness slips there to the tune of multiple times. And regardless of that, the measure ultimately made it out of committee and has been amended since. They could still bring this up. They did not bring this up last night. It's one of the reasons why I stuck around as long as I did to wait for them to say they adjourned for the day, because it's a pretty impactful bill and a lot of people are interested. So got to make sure you guys know what's going on. And if you, of course, get the newsletter in your inbox each morning at thecentersquare.com, you'll be able to stay up to date. But if you also follow me on X, you'll be able to see the latest from the State House as we get those reports out. So let's go ahead and here's some of the opponents here. All right. This is the Urban Sitter's Juan Rangel. He was at the Capitol earlier this week, just after an amendment was filed to the Homeschool Act, saying that, you got to essentially reports that you're a homeschool family and homeschool families pushing back against this en masse. But here is Rangel talking about the amendment and the problems he sees with what was most recently filed on that bill.
The truant officer or county truant officer notified of a school homeschool in violation of Section 30 of the Homeschool Act shall meet with the child or children complained of and make an initial determination of whether there is cause to start a truancy investigation. This means that if a family forgets to file the new homeschool notification form, something that's been dismissed as it's just a form, a truant officer who has the terrifying power to refer a family for prosecution to a state's attorney will have an in-person meeting with their minor child. There is nothing in this amendment protecting the sanctity of the family's home, which raises Fourth Amendment concerns. We've seen this picture before. It's ripe for abuse, and guess what? It's going to be abused in communities that look like those of us here today. In all the years that I've been coming to Springfield, and I'll tell you, it's been 35 years to be exact, I've seen bills proposed that empower parents, never one that criminalizes them, like HB 2827.
And I think that's one reason why you're finding people within the Democratic Party not supporting this. Legislators, one notable one, State Representative LaShawn Ford out of Chicago. We've reported on his opposition to this. I believe, was that earlier this week we had him live on the show? Somebody remind me of that in the chat room. It's just been, one of those weeks where it actually feels like it's been a month. But anyways, LaShawn Ford says he's really worried about the pipeline this could create for homeschool families to have run-ins with the law. And one thing that LaShawn Ford regularly does is he tries to get legislation out there to discourage that pipeline, right? From criminal justice reforms to, ensuring that, education spaces have the right policies in place and whatnot. So you've got some Democrats that don't support this. Now, the Democratic Party in Illinois' House has 78 members to Republicans' 40 members. Think about that. They only need 61 votes to pass something before the end of May with simple majorities. 61 to 78, 17 members they have there. Is that why we haven't seen this brought up? It wasn't brought up last night because they don't have the votes for it. We'll watch what happens, but clearly this is still a very contentious issue that's still very much alive. Today is the deadline to pass the measure, but we'll see what happens at the State House. They do gavel in at 9 o'clock. But Rangel, he said earlier this week that the homeschool families are good families.
They have taken ownership for the education of their children, and it's a growing movement, especially among Black and Latino parents. They ought to be praised and supported, not demonized, and certainly not criminalized. Last night, as amendments were quietly filed, thousands of homeschool parents, in fact, it was 42,393 of them, to be exact, filed their opposition to House Bill 2827 and its amendments. There will be more, and they will be organized.
And we'll see how they ultimately get their message across. We've seen in the past lopsided witness slips with tens of thousands opposing a measure, but only a couple of hundred supporting it. Doesn't seem to really change the needle. But is this needle being moved a bit? We'll watch. We'll keep you posted. Go to thecentersquare.com, get the newsletter. Follow me on X if you want to watch the latest. And we'll be there. Gavel in to gavel out. Here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, get the podcast where you get podcasts, and get that newsletter at thecentersquare.com. That's all I got for you today. Like I said, a short show. I did start a little early for those who just popped into the live chat. So if you missed it, you should be able to rewind this, or you can watch the other segments as we get those uploaded. Don't forget, you can also get the podcast where you get podcasts. I am off next week. No live show. I am going to scurry away far from the Illinois Capitol, so I don't have to be there at all next week. But we'll be back at it because both the House and the Senate are off next week. That's what's letting me get out of here. But they come back after that. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, folks of all kinds, it's going to be an intense 5 weeks. Last week of April all the way through May. And if you want to keep up to date with what's going on at the Illinois State House, tune in, all right? We'll be here. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Thank you guys so much for the patience with earlier throughout the week, all the blips for the live show, but appreciate you guys' support. Go to thecentersquare.com. We're a nonprofit newswire service. Donate today to help keep our operations going. And we'll see you back here next week. Not next week. The week after next. I'll be live the week after next. I promise. All right? Oh, boy. It's been a long day already.
So,